James Melendez, James the Wine Guy. In this video, I'm going to talk and readdress alcohol point in wines. So stay tuned. I felt really compelled to talk about alcohol point because I did one and really leaned, and my early videos were like, oh, this would be really good if it were, 1/2 point less alcohol content, or maybe 1 point less. And I had to rethink that in many ways, and that's for a lot of reasons. One is I think ultimately you can taste a lot of lower alcohol point wines, and wine is very sensitive that way. So you can taste it in gin, so 45% or 50% ABV is very different than a 40%. Maybe not so absolutely radically different, but it is noticeable. And to really look back at what I talked about and to revisit, and I think the palate has not necessarily readjusted, it's also been more accepting, and it's also been accepting in terms of a variety of reasons, say the environment or weather pattern changes, or even globalization of alcohol point. A lot of producers would say, well, they're harvesting at a time that is optimum for wine grape production at a certain Brix content that's going to translate into a certain alcohol point. And a lot of people get trapped in, I'm not going to try this 15% alcohol wine because it should be lower, and maybe for certain reasons it can't. Or say, for example, this Zinfandel right here is 15.2. Well, even Zinfandel producers will talk among themselves and say what's a high alcohol point, what is not acceptable, what is, and there's no definitive answer. And so I think that's my point here today, which is there's no definitive answer. This would be interesting to try if we're 14.2 or 13.2, but it's not, and I can't go back and revisit that. The only way I could possibly do that is maybe tasting vintage by vintage and really tasting a different year in terms of maybe when the wine grapes were harvested at a lower Brix content, hence a lower alcohol point. But other than that, I'm not going to really lose a lot of sleep on that. And I've been tasting a lot of Bordeaux in the 14.5 range. And it was thought of as just being a Napa phenomenon, but that's not true. It's actually happening all around the planet. Some regions around the planet are cooler than others and have remained consistently so. So you see this beautiful Burgundy here, it's about 13.5. This Sauvignon Blanc is about 13.5 as well. And so ultimately, when I look at these, I've been tasting a lot of Pinot Noir, so that's why I wanted to bring this up, in the 14.5 range, a lot. And there's something in the back of my head will always say, wow, what if that was a 1/2 point less? I'm not going to necessarily mark it against the wine itself, but I would definitely think about it in a different way if it had a lower alcohol point, because maybe I would taste a different characterization. And I say that in some of my videos because I think it's really important to highlight and call out. And some producers will lean on a process to bring down the alcohol content. In that way, that's still, I would say, controversial in many ways. It's actually not being thought of as authentic and even changing the characterization of the wine. So I'd rather have it produced at the Brix content at harvest and see what it is, see what it tastes like, and go from there. So I really wanted to address really, the alcohol point in this video, but also to, I'm going to attach this, or hopefully I can put this in comments down below on my first wine video about alcohol point. So, it's really, this is not to, really come out slamming against high alcohol point wines. It's not to be a fence sitter. It's a part of our reality. And some wines, such as Grenache and Zinfandel in particular, can handle a lot of alcohol. Others cannot. And Pinot Noir, in my opinion, is one where it really becomes questionable at the later 14 range. And I think a higher alcohol point Pinot Noir at approaching 15 is really something that I don't really seek out. I have tasted a number, not a huge fan, and sometimes you got to work with what you have. And I hope this addresses some of that. And I'd like to hear more of your thoughts on alcohol as it relates to wine. So we can also have a conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram and WordPress. Thank you so much for watching today. Stay tuned for more. Salut.